Hey everybody, surprise! In case you're just joining me, Facebook threw me a curveball. And so they upgraded their Creator Studio software. I was like, what the heck? Let's give it a whirl. And so obviously it's not working the way I thought it should, but here we are. I think we're just gonna go ahead and just continue without that. And so that's just how the world works sometimes. Okay. Anyways, I am glad you could make it. I'm glad you're here. All right, focus, Noe. There you are. So, this is Noe with Walk with Yah Ministry. Walk with Yah Ministry focuses on ministering deliverance to those people that want their spiritual oppression removed. And that way they can do whatever it is they're called to do in the kingdom. Walk with Yah teaches on various aspects of spiritual warfare, as well as biblical application, to talk about how do we apply the Bible, so that way, you know what, we may not need deliverance if we actually do what we're supposed to do, and we kind of learn how to fight. So that's what we're here about tonight. So I'm glad you're here. There's going to be another action-packed episode. And so what we're going to talk about tonight is, how are the demons playing you? This is one of those Demon Psychology 101 classes. It's just kind of the basics. And so I understand that not everybody understands what I'm talking about, or really cares to know what I'm talking about, to be honest. They're content in their, Matrix-like world. And so they're forced to realize that what they're doing isn't working. And sometimes, of course, it will work, but other times you kind of go through, well, if I say this prayer and I just believe that I should cast demons out, that they should go. And sometimes it's just not that simple. Most of the times it's not that simple. And so I am here to teach people and talk to people about that. Still looking at this crazy Facebook thing. It says go live. It's not going live. So, anyways. Yeah, excuse me for a minute here. I don't know. One place it says I am online, so we're going to go with that. Yeah, don't see it on the Facebook page. Okay, anyways, we're going to go with that. So, again, so these people, sometimes they look at deliverance as like this, this matrix type thing. And I don't know if they just think that, that it's going to happen something like this. Or after they pick up the phone, they're going to kind of get sucked through it, or, might be someone walking on the ceiling, or, doing the whole 360 head thing. And so it's usually pretty simple, not as so dramatic, although it can be at sometimes. So, of course, it doesn't sound anything like that. I understand it's not that dramatic. I'm just trying to help people get accustomed to this reality. Now, some people believe that, again, just because you have Yeshua in you, Jesus in you, you can just say some magic words or prayer, and poof, the demons should just go, and it's just that simple. The only problem is that there are many disciples these days that are still suffering from demonic oppression. So in my teachings, my discussions, what have I try to mix theology, principles, along with application. And this way, maybe people can see their problems from a different perspective, from a spiritual perspective. After all, we are more spirit than we are even soul, than we are body. As I think many people tend to forget this due to the distractions of whatever.
Look, a butterfly.
Oh yeah, look. Anyways, so today I want to help people understand, one, how do demons actually try to set you up for failure? What are some of their tactics? How would you set yourself up for failure if you were a demon? How do you set yourself up to actually overcome? So the last Walk with Yah teaching, and I know that you saw it, was titled, Is Having a Broken Heart Only a Song Lyric? Why doesn't the devil think so? And this was a teaching on another Deliverance 101 topic, which was on heart parts. In other words, what does it mean spiritually when our heart is broken? It was an initial teaching on soul fragments. Now, there are other types of soul fragments, but again, that was just a very intro teaching. But there's other types, such as generational altars, ones that come from soul ties, soul fragments that come from soul ties, soul invaders. There's free roaming spirits, some human spirits. There's some people call them alien human spirits. And in these live sessions, I haven't got to those yet, to those open doors. But at some point in time in the future, I do hope to do that. So just know that the demons can use all these different things that it might be good to be aware of, but that's kind of really not the focus for tonight. Again, for tonight, I want to focus on how do demons actually plan against you? I mean, what does that look like? So we have to remember that demons are, to be honest, they're very much like people. Except to us in the earthly realm, most often they're like wind or breath, and we don't actually see them, And sometimes, of course, they can manifest themselves physically, or if you're can see in the spirit, you can see them. But basically, they're kind of like wind, spirit. You can't touch them. They're not tangible. But they still have mind, will, and emotions. They have characteristics. They have language. They have memories. They have likes. They have dislikes. Everything that makes up a person, again, except you can't really touch them. And so they are as different as much as people are different. And so they will pick up the language, the mannerisms, the characteristics of some of the people they have been in before. And sometimes they will manifest through the person through those various ways. You ever heard those stories where, someone's in the hospital, they bump their head, and all of a sudden they're, speaking a different language that they never learned? Sometimes that's probably more than likely a, generational altar or something like that. But the demons can do that too. I've seen demons where they come up and they don't actually know how to speak English. And so probably because they were never in a person that spoke English before and didn't learn the language. So anyways, I'm just trying to help you understand what it is that we're dealing with. But let's just start off with a simple concept. Demons interject thoughts into our mind. So I'm sure you've heard the saying, your beliefs come from your thoughts. Your thoughts come from your words. your words come from your actions. Your actions become your habits. Your habits become your values. And your values become your destiny. Now, that's been attributed to a lot of different people that have, supposedly said that, originated that. Maybe. I don't know. I will say, though, I believe that's just basically a riff off Proverbs 23, verses 7, which says, "For as he reckons in his life, so is he." So, as we think about ourselves, that's kind of who we are. That's how we live our life. That's how it manifests in our life. So, and obviously we see the attacks on the children of today that's happening across this country and across the globe, I'm sure, as demons are trying to influence the kids today with all kinds of, demon influence garbage, Disney, etc., etc. Anyways, I won't go there. I think for most of us that are probably watching this video, it's pretty obvious. And that it's obvious that it's working. And so our mind is one of the biggest battlefields where this spiritual battle is fought, as well as our heart. And so, again, it's pretty obvious, but not always. It's not always so obvious because, you know what? The demons know us. They have an idea of what makes us tick. They've been around for thousands of years manipulating people, and so they're actually pretty good at it, in an evil kind of way. And so, but this isn't, what I'm about to say next isn't the point of this teaching, but while I'm here, I'm just going to go ahead and say this. I want to make mention of familiar spirits. Now, in the more modern era, we're getting a greater understanding of what that word means, or that the role of the familiar spirits, or perhaps even the word itself, that the etymology is changing. That the word, what it means, is actually changing. It originally meant a practice that necromancers would do. They might blow in a bottle, or it'd be some type of wind, and they would decipher that to mean, someone that has deceased. And then, over time, it became a way for demons to help witches learn their craft as they formed a partnership. Those were familiar spirits. You might see these a lot of times in people's gardens, like that, little gnomes and frogs and stuff like that. Those, if you didn't know that, those actually represent familiar spirits, as some of those items, like frogs, frog motifs, were attributed to have strong magical powers way back when. Now, these days, the term familiar is also used more generically to denote demons in general. For example, fear, pride, doubt, etc. And in this manner, the familiar positions themselves to alter your thoughts, because again, they know you. And since they know you well, or are familiar, they can speak to people in ways in which a person may believe it's actually themselves speaking. So we all have these conversations in our head, and sometimes the familiars interject themselves into those internal conversations, trying to create chaos or lead people down some unproductive or even a destructive path. So, lastly, familiars can also be a monitoring spirit, which is a class of demons with the specific function of watching us and studying us to learn more about us. Now, when I got started in Deliverance, I would, had to do my own cleanup and had to do some, generational cleansing, bloodline cleansing, if you will. And I had this dream where I saw a rat in a sewer, and in the sewer there was blood coming down the sewer pipe, and there was some, like another rat or something like that there, and there was this dark hole, and out of the dark hole, this eel, this big, huge, giant eel, his head slowly comes out of the darkness, and his brain was glowing, and he's just there, and the rat turns to him and he goes, I want you to go, up the bloodline, down the bloodline, whatever, go through the bloodline and see what we have on him. And then the dream changed to where you were above the street. I saw some feet landing in a gutter, and they started pouring money down into the gutter. So I took that to mean that, I had some generational history of, someone bribing something, could possibly have done it with witchcraft. I'm sure there was witchcraft there that got cleansed up. But anyways, other stuff that I had to clean. And so, but those spirits had to, went to search out my history. So sometimes the demons know what's in our family bloodline better than we do. And so they know if there's a generational curse that will be more prone to that sin. Because when a curse is repeated generationally, it gets stronger, many times unknown to us. We may not know that we have a history of gambling, for example, in the bloodline. And so, they might try to get us to gamble, and, it will strengthen that curse. And so, anyways, a lot more can be said there. I'm not going to go there about, for right now. I will ask, though, do you realize that there are all kinds of books in heaven that I believe everything's written down? And so, so they're just turning the pages. As it says in Psalm 139:16, your eyes saw my unformed substance. In your book were written, every one of them, the days that were formed for me, when as yet there was none of them. When I wasn't formed, there was things written about me. And so I believe heaven has all kinds of books. We see this. We shouldn't find this surprising, because obviously we see a lot of things about scrolls all the way, in various books in the Tanakh, the Old Testament, Revelation. So all kinds of writings. And so nothing strange there. But I believe that the enemy can get some of our books. And I think sometimes they, look to see what we're about, possibly what our calling is, and may even try to edit our books even. And so not exactly sure how that works. I just believe they can do it. Now, changing gears, I want to focus on a verse here. And it's actually in 1 Peter 1, starting with verse 12. And kind of right before that, is talking about how the prophets, they got messages, and they were bearing witness of the suffering of Yeshua, of the Messiah, of these things that would come to pass. And it says in verse 12, to whom it was revealed that they were serving not themselves, but you, meaning the prophets. The prophets were serving not themselves, but you, being the reader, in these matters which now have been announced to you through those who brought the good news to you by the set-apart Spirit sent from heaven, into which the messengers long to look into. Interesting. So in other words, neither the angels nor the demons, Satan's angels, if you will, know the future. So taking that a bit further, the demons put thoughts in our head to see what will stick, to see what actions it will produce, because they don't know. They're playing us, basically. And so they have a good idea of what specific people will respond to. Just know they're in it for the long game, and they can be very patient most times. So that's one tactic. So there are many that we won't have the time to cover tonight, but I just wanted to get you, again, thinking about some of the ways that they operate. There was this one time I was ministering to this lady, and she had this demon come up, and a lot of times when I minister to people, I'll ask, the demons that are manifesting through the person, hey, what other demons are there? Because usually one's going to open up the door for a whole bunch of others. And so I had this one demon, I forgot his name, and I was asking him, who else is there? And he points, he's like, that stupid demon over there. And this demon proceeds to tell me, he goes, that demon ruins all of our plans. So not only was that, dumb, stupid demon trying to cause that behavior in the client, that person at that time, but because stupid is as stupid does, that demon was also doing the same thing to the plans of, the demons that were coming against her also as well. So the demon wasn't really happy with the dumb demon, with the stupid demon. And so, and just so you know, their plans don't always work, against us, but I'm sure you know that. Sometimes the demons are actually also so prideful that sometimes they'll actually give away a key piece of information to their demise. Sometimes they're so braggadocious that they'll be like, oh, I did this, and I did this, and this is how I got in. And it's like, oh, really? Do tell. And so it's very, very interesting sometimes. Recently, Jay Bartlett was in town. And he's actually very amazing to watch. If you've never seen him, if he comes to your city, you need to go check him out. And when ministering to a young lady there was demons, and they were coming up, and they were like, we're trying to convince her that she's a lesbian. Because she wanted to dance on Broadway. Dancing was her thing. And so they knew that there was going to be a lot of that type of behavior on Broadway. So they were like, hey, you know what? Maybe we can get her to believe this way, knowing what's coming down the line. And so while the demon was up, he was actually going, we do not want her to marry the one that God has chosen for her. Now, there was no mention that she had a boyfriend. And so, in other words, the demons could be very well years ahead of you, trying to plan things, trying to ruin your life now, so you will never get on the path that were created to be on. They will try to do it to get you way off path a lot earlier than what God had intended. Demons will actually try to pair you up with other people that can cause the most damage. And adversely, they'll try to keep you away from people that can actually help you to get set free. A lot of times when doing a mass deliverance or something like that in a group of people, or we're teaching on a subject, I'll tell the people there, hey, if you hear a voice that's saying you need to go now, like this guy's crazy, it's like, more than likely, you probably got something there and it doesn't want to get cast out. So you probably should stay. And so Anyways, again, demons feeding us thoughts. And they're trying to ruin our lives. And so, now, a quick and easy example of this would be somebody with a Jezebel spirit and another person that has an Ahab spirit. Jezebel spirits tend to be very controlling. Ahab spirits tend to be very lackadaisical, just, maybe not in all areas of their life, but in some areas of their life, they'll, allow the one with the Jezebel spirit just to run over them and just be a doormat, basically. And so you can read about two people that exemplify that very well, starting in 1 Kings 16, verse 29, if you want to see a good example of that. So, but when these two demons are paired together in individuals, there will be constant chaos in their lives, and probably in the lives of everyone that's around them. This normally plays out with a woman that has a Jezebel spirit over the man that has an Ahab spirit. A lot of times the Jezebel likes to demasculate, the male. So it's usually how that carries out. Not always, but let's look at another example. Let's say you have a spirit of rejection on you. Well, what would you do if you were a spirit of rejection? You would try to pair up that person with people that are going to reject them. You would try to help put thoughts into those other people, say, hey, this person, his mother dresses him funny, he speaks funny, whatever, to try to get those people to reject the one that has the demon rejection. And so we have to understand that while we're talking to one another in the physical or earthly natural realm, those spirits are actually talking also as well. So they're like, hey, you know what? Let's see if we can get these two together and ruin both their lives. Or maybe, you know what? That one's a strong believer in Yeshua. Let's try to keep them apart. Or sometimes, you might have two people that have both have a Jezebel, and they just hate each other because they want to control each other, and so causing the people to want to fight. And so, that can get pretty brutal. Yeah, exactly. Hold on. There we go. So I actually had one time Jay minister to me, and because I like to clean up as well. I know that the demons are trying to stop me. And so he was able to see in the spirit a scene that had played in my head several times, but I didn't connect the dots. It was a picture of me as a young child, staring out the window. It was night. My parents invited me to go somewhere. I didn't want to go. I stayed home. They stayed out later than what I wanted to. And I was just there kind of really wanting them to come home. I was tired of being alone, and I wanted to be tended to. And so the demons use that to try to fuel the feelings of rejection in me. And so there was this recurring thought that would come to me at times, but I never realized it was being communicated to me that there was something more there, something, this heart part of mine needed to be ministered to. So I was just kind of like, okay, well, maybe not exactly like that. Maybe I was a little bit older sounding that. Although I do sound like that when I get up in the morning, though. Yes, that's never a pleasant thing. And so I'm going to ask you a question. Not that I want you to always be thinking about this or to hyper-focus on it, but it's a good question to ask at times. How would you set yourself up for failure if you were a demon? So to give some examples of that, and here's some questions to ask the Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit at times. Should I be hanging around this person? Do they have enough control over my life to pull me down? Should I be lying to my girlfriend or boyfriend or husband, wife, father, mother? I really don't know what to do. And I really want to know the future. Maybe should I go see a psychic or a fortune teller or even a white witch? And so we have to always be kind of thinking ahead because the demons are. We have to be thinking about the situations that we're getting ourselves into. So I want to talk about how do you set yourself up to overcome? Of course, in many of these examples, the Bible already has something to say. So that's what demons are trying to get us to go against, is that's sin. They're trying to get us to sin against what the Bible says, what God's commands are, his spiritual laws, his commands of righteousness, because that's what we're being judged on. So knowing the Bible, of course, and having a healthy fear of Yah, of God, isn't such a bad thing. Now, of course, when we're closer to Yeshua, to Jesus, I'm just going to repeat this verse here, 1 John 2, verse 15. Do not love the world or the things in the world. If anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world, the desires of the flesh, and the desires of the eyes, and the pride of life, is not from the Father, but is from the world. And the world is passing away along with its desires, but whoever does the will of Yah, of God, abides forever. So, again, we have to just sometimes question our desires. What's fueling that? Where is it leading us to? Second, do you ever question your thoughts and where they may be coming from? Yeah, exactly. If you don't, you need to, because we're hearing from many different types of entities, even from the different types of soul fragments that I mentioned earlier. It's not just demons. They could be parts of us, our broken hearts. It could be generational altars. It could be ones that we have soul ties with. They could be, again, free roaming spirits, that type of stuff. And so, just something else to think about. You might want to think about, was that my thought? And so, because I've had plenty of times where I'm like, oh, that wasn't me. That's not what I was thinking. I was nowhere near that. And that one came out of the blue. Of course, sometimes it could be the Holy Spirit. But again, you kind of have to know his voice. Hey, Cindy. Yep, I see your question. Let me get to that. And so glad you could join. You could join us here. And so glad you're not on Facebook, because that doesn't seem to be working. But anyways, I will get back to your question. Now, another way, again, as I just mentioned, is to think through your actions ahead of time. So let's say you're going to a party and you know what? You might be drinking some. You kind of already know that. So think about the effects of that and the different ways that could possibly go wrong, and then plan accordingly. I'm not saying don't ever go to a party, but if you think you may get too drunk to drive, well then plan around that. If you think you may get with a person that you know you shouldn't, then try to plan ahead before you are in a situation that you will regret. I mean, how many unwanted pregnancies are there every year, as an example? I mean, you get the point. I'm also going to say this. I'm not here to condemn anybody, as guess what? I'm not perfect. I'm sorry if I let you down, but I'm not perfect. I can't say that the 30-year-old version of myself would have followed this advice. I was very much of the world at that point, at time, and to be honest, I got spanked. And thankfully, I learned my lesson. And I've been seeking Yeshua, Jesus, ever since, stumbling at times, still being imperfect, but always getting back on, trying to do better, trying to learn my lessons. But these days, I'm much more aware of how the enemy tries to set me up. I know if I do a certain behavior, the attacks will get stronger as the enemy is watching me, often trying to set me up, hoping I'll fail. Now just know the Bible says in Job 7 verse 17, "What is man that you make so much of him, that you set your heart on him? Visit him every morning and test him every moment." So know that we're getting tested all the time. Life is just, a big test, if you will, a series of tests, accumulating in one big test. I'm just hoping somebody will learn from my mistakes as I try to learn from other people's mistakes so I don't have to recreate their problems in my life. I think that's actually wisdom, and I pray that a lot of younger people will learn that the easier way. To keep them from the years of the lost years, the going down the wrong path, the tens of thousands of dollars, or maybe even much more. But the good news is that we don't have to, and shouldn't even, try to fight these battles by ourselves. In John 14, verse 16, starting there, the Bible says, as Yeshua, Jesus says, "And I will ask the Father, and he will give you another helper to be with you forever, even the Spirit of truth, whom the world cannot receive because it neither sees him nor knows him. You know him, for he dwells with you and will be in you. I do not leave you as orphans. I will come to you. Yet a little while, and the world will see me no more, but you will see me. Because I live, you will also live. In that day you will know I am in my Father, and you in me, and I in you." We're not alone in this. He wants us to reach out to him for help. That's what we're designed to do. We're not created to handle this by ourselves. How we handle these tests can either result in more oppression, chaos, lost time, lost money, going down the wrong path. Or if we handle it right, it can actually lead to God, actually advancing us. So, I want to get to the Q&A here in a moment. And I want to put this question out there, though. What are some ways that you can see where the enemy is possibly setting you up? Could it be on your job? Maybe you have a case of road rage. Or in what ways have you seen the enemy try to set you up, in which case you overcome their strategy? You recognized it. You were like, there's something going on here. Just throwing it out there. I'm going to give you a second to think. Why, look at this question here. Thank you again, Cindy. Is there a way of knowing if a physical ailment is demonic or not? Tough question. With all things spiritual, there's usually not just, one answer. There's just so many variables. Sometimes we can get hurt just because we live in a fallen world. And I don't necessarily want to blame everything on the demons. There's a demon behind every bush. And so, I don't want to give them more credit than what they deserve. At the same time, I think that demons cause a lot more problems than what people realize, even physical ailments. So on one hand, I think sometimes people don't think about it enough. They're just like, well, I'll just go get a pill and that'll take care of the problem. Not even thinking that there could be a spiritual root to the problem. Seeing a lot of people getting healed in deliverance from physical ailments. And then at the other side, I don't, again, as I talked earlier about balance, I don't want people thinking that everything's a demon. And so just a lot of variables there. And so, yes, so you said my ex was sent to me by Hasatan, by Satan. You're sure of it? Yeah, I have no problem believing that. I believe a lot of people, there's a lot of wrong relationships. And again, it's because a lot of people are still, are carnal believers. And so they're not necessarily led by the Spirit. They're led by, hey, I think we make a cute couple. Hey, he makes a lot of money. He can take care of me. Hey, she's kind of funny. We kind of click together in this particular way. But that's being led more so by the soul than it is the Spirit. So I think there's a lot of wrong relationships. Not to say that if you get in a wrong relationship that Yeshua, Jesus, cannot heal it, and that if both parties come to and they submit themselves to him, that he can't fix it and make it better. But I'm just saying there's a lot of marriages, relationships that he didn't put together. I strongly believe that. All right. Hey, Randy. Glad you could make it. And you know what? I am just going to check my Facebook here. And it still doesn't look like I'm live. And so, yeah, anyways. So, looking back, there was a lot of people. There was a lot of situations that I was in that I shouldn't have been. And, friends, parties, almost accidents that, I was in a wrong situation. And if it wasn't for, an angel or whatever, just saving my life, I may not be here right now. And so I'm glad that he covers us. And that was even before I was a follower, before I was committed to him. And so, I think at another point in time, and I'm not ready for this yet, because I'm kind of doing some more research and for myself is the differences between the soul, spirit, how does all that work? And so kind of working through that right now, always trying to work on my spiritual sensitivity. Again, that's a whole big, huge topic, walking in the spirit, that type of stuff. And so, but it's something, I think that's one of the most important gifts, or, part of our walk that we need to really focus on. I think it's needed for a time that's, it's coming. And so, but the demons have played me many times. They still try to. I'm a little bit more, wise to their games. And so, not always. They still try to, catch me off guard as something I may not have planned ahead. But if I know the Bible and kind of what it says, if I have a heart for following Yeshua and, always try to put that ear up like, hey, this caught me off guard, how do you want me to deal with that? I'm more suited, better able to handle stuff. And so, okay. I don't know if anyone has any other questions. And so, I think I will end it with that. And I'll look at Facebook, see what happened with there, what went wrong there. And, hopefully next time I'll get that going right. But I'll post this on Facebook also as well soon. Randy, how do we retract heart parts or guard against them? Great question. Kind of there's a little bit to that. The heart parts, the different versions of ourselves, us being brokenhearted, just depending on the amount of, trauma that caused that heart part. Sometimes you can just pray that Jesus, Yeshua, kind of come and take those. And other times, if it's more traumatic, as psychologists and psychiatrists know, a lot of times we have different versions in ourself. Maybe that heart part of yours of somebody, got abused, maybe got rejected, maybe got bullied. And sometimes those heart parts don't want to come up. Sometimes they're just, so despondent that it may take a little bit to get them up. Not always. I recall one session I was ministering to a person, and I knew that there was a heart part there and it wasn't coming up. And then I was with this other lady minister, and I was just like, you know what? Okay, I'll tell you what, why don't you, give it a whirl? And that heart part came up immediately for her. Because that heart part may have had something against men. Maybe it was a man that offended that particular heart part. So it wasn't going to come up for me. It did for her. So there's all these variables and things to consider. And but generally, if there's a heart part there that's that embedded, you kind of want to, pull it up, minister to it, send it to Jesus. But again, there's a lot to that. And sometimes doing self-deliverance, which is good to do, but sometimes it's limited because, the heart's deceitfully wicked. Who can know it? Sometimes it's very hard to minister to yourself. So sometimes it's just good to have another pair of eyes, someone else ministering to you. How to guard against heart parts. So I think people that get offended very easily, that are, what some might call thin-skinned, they get hurt, angry or whatever. Again, if there's a lot of demons there that are, you have, depression or, suicide or anger or rage and all this stuff, those things can heighten the offense. And in which case, again, you get thin-skinned or whatever, it can cause a part of you to break off. Now, at the end of the day, I always pray against, that. I break soul ties. And I have a prayer on my website, walkwithya.com. But I always try to pray against any heart parts every night. And, I'll take my heart parts, clean them up in the blood of Jesus, return them back to me from wherever they are. The ones that I have, I plead the blood of Jesus over them, asking for him to take them to, send them to wherever they belong. And so sometimes those prayers may work, and sometimes, again, the offense there might be more that's needed. And so if you have children, obviously we talked earlier about, sometimes children, we know that the enemy's trying to come against them. If you are in a place of authority, you can kind of pray those prayers over the children, kind of the similar prayers. I believe Yeshua, Jesus, would honor that. And so obviously we want to treat children with love and stuff like that. We don't want to, offend them. You feel the need to spank them, kind of make sure that you love them, and, also show them that loving side also as well, that balance. Just make sure that there's a lot of love around and understanding, explain things to them, etc. And so we got to protect them. Heck, we got to protect ourselves. Yeah, discernment of the spirits is a gift much needed. Yes, and so myself, I've spent time studying seer gift, prophetic gift, that type of stuff. Still working on various aspects of that, and it's taking time, and which is why I'm trying to get people geared up now, because for most people, it will take time. Some of them, they have to overcome that hurdle in their head going, can I really do this? And then you kind of have to learn how to do it. Hebrews 5:14 says that we learn to distinguish good from evil by constant training in righteousness. Now, for 99% of the people, well, maybe not that high, but for a lot of people, you're going to have to learn how to do it. And it may take time. For other people, they may get it right away. I've seen that happen. And so I'm sure a lot of people that in some aspect, maybe hearing from him, they're just, can just hear from him, or they just might see stuff. And so, but yeah, discernments of spirits, I like it. I like to know what it is that I'm fighting against. Some people have that gift. They don't like it. They don't want it. They kind of stay away from it. And so, but everyone's got their own choice. And so they can shut it down also as well. Okay, so I think that answered the questions. If not, I might have more information on the Walk with Yah YouTube channel. If you want to go out there, got a lot of teachings out there. Or you can send me an email at noe@walkwithyah. You can find this ministry at www.walkwithyah, that's YAH.com. If you haven't already subscribed to this ministry on YouTube, please press the subscribe button. And you can follow this ministry on Facebook as well, although you may not be following it tonight. Email me again if you have any questions. I look forward to seeing you on the first and third Thursday of the month at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's when we do these live sessions. Oh, Randy. Okay, question. Does a spirit have to be named? No, it does not have to be named. It helps to know the name of the spirit, but sometimes the demons will be very hesitant to give up their name. It's kind of like if you call a dog by its name. If you call a dog by its name, if you know its name, it's going to be, it's going to know that you're talking to, to him. Whereas if you're just like, dog, you, hey, Fido, Spot, it helps. However, with demons, what you can do is you can call them sometimes by their function. Okay, you, the one that's put in anger, the one that's causing the depression, the one that's causing, pornography, you can do it that way as well. And so, okay. Anyways, this is Noe with Walk with Yah Ministry. Get connected. A lot of good information out here people need to know. And just remember, maybe your miracle could be next.